Here's a question for you. What makes us a good person? What makes us a bad person? Is it the decisions we make every day? Our thought processes? Our perspectives? How we treat others? How we treat ourselves? I guess there may not be a straight answer, but these questions were flowing through my mind when playing through the game, Mouthwashing. There were many concepts introduced in the game that I tried to understand throughout my playthrough. Examples like how people are defined, if a job title can take over your identity, taking responsibility and accountability for your own actions, trying to find true happiness, and corporate greed. Does this game showcase what the future may look like? If this is a game that you're planning to play, skip this video now. I would highly recommend going into this game blind, as it'll give you a mind-bending experience. If you wish to continue, you've been warned. We're greeted with some information indicating that we're part of a delivery service company on a ship of 5 crew members. It also seems that the crew is about halfway to their destination before their delivery. You're dropped in at the bridge as if you were a pilot of the ship making some unconscious decisions heading directly into an asteroid. It seems as though you did this action without knowing. The system is forced to go into autopilot and docks your pay for the whole crew due to your incompetent behavior. You, as the player, are then forced to grab the master key, turn autopilot off, and head straight for the asteroid again. We now know that this was an intentional action. So who did it, and why? Let's find out. When running out of the bridge, we're met with multiple posters and mascots confirming that this ship you're currently on is in fact your company cargo ship. It's a nightmare navigating through the halls, making things seem like you're hallucinating or even dreaming. All of a sudden, after the impact, the timeline jumps forward 2 months after the crash. You're introduced to the main characters in a damaged ship environment. Swansea, the senior mechanic, Daisuke, the intern mechanic, Anya, the medic, Jimmy, the co-pilot, Curly, the main pilot, and the company itself, Pony Express, that has the crew shackled, maintaining control of their actions. Explained within character dialogue, Pony Express as a company controls how much sleep the crew can get every day, allows one crew member birthday celebration a year amongst the whole crew, controls the crew's food intake, and more. After the crash, it shows that Curly is immobile as he's so badly injured that he's incapable of moving and speaking. Understanding the dire situation, Jimmy takes leadership and tries to find a solution on how his crew can survive the rest of the trip under extreme conditions. This game goes through many time skips showing the player life before the crash and life after the crash. Before the crash, you play as Curly, and after the crash, you play as Jimmy. Playing Curly before the crash shows you his relationship with the whole crew. He seems to be someone who's trustworthy and wants to help everyone to the best of his ability, not focusing on the bad in people. During this time, we get to know each character as they show their flaws. Anya is a nurse that is scared of blood. Daisuke has no work experience. Swansea seems annoyed at everything. And Jimmy, who was able to get the co-pilot job because of Curly writing off on his psychological evaluation. Curly receives a letter from corporate explaining that his crew would be fired after their delivery due to their jobs being automated. The last delivery ship with human workers, now no longer in existence. During his own surprise birthday celebration, he had shared the news with the crew right away, even though the letter specified telling the crew right before the cargo reached their delivery destination. This causes a lot of frustration and panic between everyone at the party. Anya doesn't have any savings, along with carrying Jimmy's baby. Daisuke most likely has to move back in with his parents, being from a rich family, but sees himself as a failure. Swansea won't be able to retire and maybe has a few working years left. And Jimmy just seems furious with the whole situation. Curly may or may not be fine due to his current position, but it was news he didn't want to have to share with everyone. At the end of our time playing as Curly, we see Jimmy outside of the bridge as the ship is headed toward an asteroid. Curly steers the ship just in time to prevent a complete catastrophe, but is injured in the process, saving the crew. Jimmy couldn't take the stress and worry about his job loss that he was the ultimate culprit to blame for the whole ship accident. Focusing on after the crash, Jimmy takes control as the new captain as mentioned previously. Food is getting short and the locked cargo bay is the last resort on possible food rations. If opened, the crew risks another pay cut. At the same time, they really had no choice when it came to survival. Opening the cargo bay, there was only one product that seemed abundant: mouthwash. It doesn't seem to help anyone, but when Swansea notices that it contains sugar and alcohol, he relapses from his alcoholism and goes to town after 15 years of sobriety. Because the crew seemed hopeless, a domino effect is created and the rest of the crew follows in Swansea's footsteps besides Jimmy. Jimmy feels even more frustrated than before, patronizing and trying to manipulate the whole crew for not being able to help in any way. He feels like he has to do everything on the ship now that Curly is immobile. In no way does anything get better. The crew loses hope in themselves and in humanity. Anya locks herself in the medical bay as she doesn't see herself as useful to the crew along with losing her job. She's also thinking about how she's going to take care of her baby. Swansea is always guarding the utility room, saying the room is too damaged to enter and not working on fixing anything while being drunk. And Daisuke is still focused on trying not to be a failure and proving to someone he's capable of something. Thinking about next steps, Jimmy tries to come up with a plan to see if the utility room has anything useful. The only problem was that Swansea was still blocking the utility room door. Since Swansea had been drinking mouthwash to the point of blacking out, Jimmy convinces Daisuke to help by making a strong drink from the kitchen and adding mouthwash to increase potency in order for Swansea to go to sleep. Acting friendly, Swansea accepts their drink and passes out. Finally able to get into the utility room, they both find that the room is actually not badly damaged. The main focus was the cryo chambers. It appears as though out of 4 cryo chambers, 1 was still intact and Swansea was saving it. Of course, Jimmy thought that the chamber was for Swansea himself. Now, they shifted priority onto Anya's safety. Wanting to make sure if Anya was okay, Jimmy saw a vent, which was the only way into the medical bay as Anya had locked the main entrance. The vent seemed dangerous and cramped. Jimmy's only solution was that Daisuke went through and opened the door from the inside after crawling through the vents. Able to manipulate Daisuke agrees to enter the vent because he wanted to prove that he could be of use to someone. Even though Daisuke got into the vent, he got severely injured on his way into the medical bay and opened the door. Daisuke being injured, Jimmy didn't know what to do. Mouthwash could have been a solution, but only short-term from the pain. Swansea had finally woken up and took action, ending Daisuke's suffering since Jimmy seemed helpless. After Daisuke had passed, we soon learned that Anya had taken her own life from the stress and feeling hopeless. It seems as though Jimmy goes through a few hallucinations as he sees Swansea trying to attack him with an axe and chasing him through a maze. When Jimmy snaps out of it, we find himself pointing a gun towards Swansea while Swansea insults Jimmy and tells him about his current thoughts. Swansea explains that even though he got away from alcoholism and turned his life around with a family and a mortgage, being drunk in the past was the best time of his life. The trigger's pulled and the only crew members left alive are Jimmy and Curly. Jimmy is still trying to find a way to save Curly and realizes that the cryo chamber is the only answer. Finally, feeling the guilt of his actions, Jimmy tries to take responsibility for all he's done by putting Curly into the cryo chamber and taking his own life. With all the events unfolded, this shows how different people can be. It shows how we are around others, how we are around ourselves, and how we are under stressful situations. Curly, for example, he's someone who tries to see the good in people, someone who probably believes in hard work and pushed himself to get the position he holds now. Even though he got the position that he wanted, he still feels unhappy. His character showcases that he's able to take on responsibility and cares for others, showing empathy and sympathy to everyone. Someone who is well put together and gives people the benefit of the doubt. Anya is someone who doesn't feel qualified to work in her position but does what she can to help those in need. Someone who may have deep secrets and deals with them on her own even though she wants the help. Swansea being someone who seems rude on the outside but might be soft on the inside. Someone that may be misunderstood at first glance. Daisuke being someone who feels helpless because he's been taken care of his whole life, but he wants to be the person to take care of others now. He seems to be someone who isn't taken seriously because of the way he was raised and tries to find respect from everyone. And the mentally unstable Jimmy, who has different versions of himself depending on who he's around. Someone who's manipulative if he doesn't get his way. A person who could never take responsibility or accountability for his own actions. It seemed like all Jimmy wanted was to be the savior even though he was the one who caused the problem. But what was the ultimate problem? There are many thoughts and discussions online about what the main themes were about the game and the events that unfolded between different characters. I know I may have missed a lot of key details, so I apologize. Please let me know if I missed anything of value. Over my playtime, I slowly realized that taking responsibility was the ultimate theme in this game. Who could be to blame for this whole situation? Is it Curly, who got Jimmy hired even though his psychological evaluation was no good? Was it Jimmy, who couldn't take his new jobless reality and tried crashing the ship? Was it the corporation, who got rid of everyone's jobs to save some money? I know many may have their own answers and opinions, but I would say it's a combination of everything. There are also other aspects of the game and story that I can't fact check due to it not being blatantly obvious during my playthrough, like how did Anya really get pregnant? Was Swansea saving the cryo chamber for himself, or was it for Daisuke? And the meanings behind every hallucination Jimmy had while battling his internal self. What I found so interesting was that even though Jimmy was trying to end everyone by crashing the ship, he felt that he was saving everyone from their future jobless reality. He was someone who thought he could carry the weight of the world but couldn't even understand himself. Someone who couldn't accept the facts and someone who was blind to responsibility. A person who was jealous of others and wanted all the power but couldn't handle the pressure. Nothing was ever his fault in his eyes. At the end of it all, can we judge others based on their thoughts and actions? Are certain things that are said and done justified? How complicated are we as people? Too many questions with not enough answers. I guess there are some things that we have to go through as people and experience ourselves in order to get different perspectives on life. There may not always be answers to everything, but when there is, the interpretations might be different for everyone. Like I mentioned before, I know I may have missed a lot of things, so please feel free to share your thoughts. Thanks for spending your time with me today. Get some good rest and get outside whenever you can. Peace.